Okay, hello everybody. My name is Leah Groppo. I'm one of the registered dietitians at Stanford Healthcare. Today we are in set for such a treat. We have Elaine Hahn, who's a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. She works at Stanford's Emeryville Clinic, where she sees patients one-on-one and teaches group classes. And today Elaine is going to talk about gut health. This was actually a topic that so many people asked for. And so really excited to learn from Elaine today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we will get to those at the very end of the presentation. And then also, Elaine really wants to make this presentation as interactive as possible. So she's going to be asking some questions. So we ask that you put your answers to that in the chat. So questions for Elaine go in the Q&A, answers to Elaine's questions go in the chat. So without further ado, Elaine Hahn.
Thank you so much, Leah, for the introduction. Before I get started, I just want to make sure you could see my screen. Can you see my PowerPoint okay, Leah?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, perfect. I'm really excited to be here today. There is a lot of interest in the topic of gut health, so I'm really excited to be invited to do this talk right here and spend some time really going over how to improve our gut health and how this impacts diabetes. So first, I'm going to go over the specific food ideas to help diversify the microbiome. And then I'm also going to talk about the foods that may help increase insulin sensitivity. Before I begin, I feel like it's going to be really important to really understand what the microbiota is. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits and what types of food can help. So what is the microbiota? It is the normal bacteria that's found in the human body. There are 10 to 100 trillion bacteria and other microscopic organisms that live inside our gut, with each person hosting at least 160 different species. In individuals with type 2 diabetes, the research shows that there is a decreased microbial diversity of bifidobacterium, firmicutes, and clostridia, and an increase in beta proteobacteria. So the data shows that the more diversified your microbiota is, the greater the likelihood that you can metabolize your blood sugars better. So if our goal is to diversify your microbiota, how do you do that? So you can help diversify your microbiome with probiotics. They are the good bacteria that can be added into your gut through the consumption of food or supplement. So I'm going to talk now about how we are going to connect probiotics and how they're connected to blood sugar management. So I'm going to introduce a little bit of science, okay? So studies have shown that probiotics can increase the level of incretin secretion of intestinal GLP-1s. So incretin is a hormone that helps stimulates insulin release. So this is what helps with postprandial blood glucose and insulin resistance. Incretin secretion is impaired in individuals with obesity and type 2 diabetes when compared with healthy individuals. So right now I'm going to have a little bit more of a focus on GLP-1s, okay? GLP-1s are gut peptides. So when you eat, especially when you eat foods that have carbohydrates in them, your digestive system starts breaking down the carbohydrates into simple sugars. The sugars are going to travel through your bloodstream. The GLP-1 is going to trigger your pancreas to send out some insulin to help move the glucose out of the bloodstream and into your cells. And then this is how it can be used for nourishment or energy. So this is how it actually also helps keep your blood sugar stable. GLP-1s are really important in diabetes management because they also play a role in keeping you feeling really full, or it helps increase your satiety. They also increase insulin sensitivity. So I know I've been saying a lot about GLP-1s, but I don't know if you've heard of GLP-1s before, or maybe you haven't. but I can bet some of you have heard of the medication Ozempic or Wegovy. These medications are a class of GLP-1 drugs that help with diabetes management and with obesity. So I'm going to stop and let you think about this a little bit more. If you can include more probiotic foods into your diet, these probiotics can increase the level of incretin secretion, which helps increase the release of GLP-1s. Kind of crazy, right? So like probiotics can help with all of this. So now I really want to get you on board on understanding, okay, so now that we understand this, what kind of foods are probiotics? So probiotics, they're defined as live microorganisms, which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. I like to think of probiotics as the food that contain all the good bacteria. So some examples of these foods are fermented vegetables, which include sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles, beets, and carrots. Fermented fruits like chutneys, jams, and green papaya. Yogurt, kefir, sour cream, and buttermilk. These are plain with no added sugar with live and active cultures. Kombucha, which is a fermented beverage. Fermented condiments like homemade ketchup, relishes, salsas, and pickled ginger. Natto, miso, tempeh, and tamari sauce. So I gave you a lot of different ideas of like what kind of foods are probiotics. Maybe if you tried some of them before and maybe some of them are new to you. If you want to experiment, especially if you're trying to experiment with kefir, smoothies are a good way to start. You could blend it with some fruit like bananas or berries and peaches. You can also flavor it with like vanilla and cinnamon. Um, if you want to try to use miso, you can give it a deeper flavor into a soup by adding the paste of the miso in there. You can also mix some miso with some sesame oil and then spread it on top of like a fish fillet. You can also have some fermented vegetables where you can top it into a sandwich, into a taco. You can add it as part of your charcuterie board, or even top it into a salad for a nice acidic flavor. What I want you to also understand too is that a lot of these foods, or most of them, can be easily found at your grocery store. You don't really have to go to a specialty store to get this. And also, I'm going to share with you something kind of like hot off the press. This is about a month ago, March 1st, the FDA announced that they do not object to the use of this qualified health claim regarding yogurt, because yogurt, right? We talked about yogurt being a probiotic. Eating yogurt regularly, at least 2 cups, which is 3 servings per week, may reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes according to limited scientific evidence. So I wanted to explain to you because the FDA made this announcement just a month ago, so this is fairly new. This was based off of 22 prospective cohort studies that were completed. 11 of these studies were evaluated with yogurt, and they reported a 14% lower risk of type 2 diabetes when the person included at least 80 grams of yogurt per day, which is equivalent to 1/3 of a cup. So a third of a cup of yogurt every single day. They found that there was a great significance in benefit in women and in adults age 60 and older. So most of the studies that were included, they included conventional yogurt. So some that included low-fat yogurt, some with the regular fat. The only thing that we don't really know is if the amount of added sugar was put into the yogurt or if it was plain. So that wasn't very clear in the study. So we can't state a very specific type of yogurt that we recommend, but the FDA and myself included, I believe that if you want to add yogurt into your day-to-day, do so. I just wouldn't want to choose the ones that are high in sugar because that doesn't seem to make sense that it would help with reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes. But this is something that I think is really cool and really amazing because in the last month, there's just some evidence that's shown that yogurt, which is a probiotic, can also, not only does it have some good gut health benefits, it can also reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. So really new, off the press in the last month. So Leah mentioned I like to ask a lot of questions and I like to just make sure that um, I get you engaged in this. So my question to you is true or false? All pickles, sauerkraut, and kimchi contain probiotics. Is this true or false? What do you think?
You're getting a lot of falses in the chat, Elaine. Oh, you got one true, two trues, and then mostly falses. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Leah. Okay, we have a really smart group right here. You are correct. That is false, okay? Because pickles, sauerkraut, and kimchi, yes, they do contain probiotics, but not all of them. So I'm going to show you what to look for when you're at the grocery store. If you're at the store and you're going to buy the foods, because Elaine said probiotics are good for you, right? If you're looking for like the pickles or the sauerkraut or the kimchi, these are things you want to look for. You want to visually see the cloudiness or the bubbliness in the brine. You want to see these words contains live active cultures, probiotic, raw, live, and unpasteurized. The only ingredients that are needed to actually make the probiotic is the vegetable of choice and then the filter or spring water with a kosher or unrefined sea salt. What you don't want in terms of the ingredients on there, because it can interfere with the process of lactofermentation, are vinegar, sugar, certain chemical preservatives such as sodium benzoate, sodium bisulfate, and lactic acid, and food dyes. So those are the words you don't want to see on the food label. So now I'm going to ask you, if you were at the store and you see this jar of dill pickles, and you look at this and you say, I need to get some more probiotics. Is this a probiotic? What do you guys think? Based on the ingredients and based on this jar right here, is this a probiotic? Yes or no?
You're getting some no's.
Mhm.
Oh, more no's. I haven't seen a yes yet. So pretty much a lot of people are saying no. Someone did say it does look cloudy, but they still think it's a no.
Okay.
You got one yes, but the majority say no.
I love this. I love this. Okay, thanks, Leah, for letting me know. This is actually a yes. This is a probiotic because whoever said this, the first thing you want to look at when you look at the package or the jar, you want to see the cloudiness. You want to see that the brine has a little bit of murkiness. It's not supposed to be clear. Okay, so that's the first giveaway. But the second is when you look at the ingredients, remember I said there's the vegetable of choice, you just need the water and the salt. Those are the three things that you need to help with the fermentation. The garlic, the dill, spices, and mustard seed and calcium chloride, those are all okay as well. Now, here is another jar of pickles. Take a look at this and look at the ingredients. Tell me if you think this is a probiotic.
You're getting a lot of no's. Oh, someone said no and specifically said because there's vinegar, actually.
Ooh, I have someone
Oh,
who's paying
a
attention.
couple no because it has vinegars. Yeah.
Ah, okay, awesome. So very good. First thing you look at the jar. It's very clear, right? There's no cloudiness. You don't see any bubbles. It doesn't always have to have bubbles, but if it's very clear, like this jar right here, it's the first giveaway to me that this is not a probiotic, okay? And also, I mean, look at the first three ingredients: fresh cucumbers, water, and salt. Those are the three things that would help with fermentation. But then once you add in the vinegar, okay, which is an acid, and then once you add in the sodium benzoate, which is a preservative, you've just killed it off. So now this is not going to go through this fermentation process. Okay, so really good. I think the audience is paying attention. I have another one. This is a sauerkraut. When you take a look at this and you look at the food label, tell me if you think this is a probiotic. Yes or no?
People are saying yes very quickly, actually. I haven't seen a no yet. It's all been yeses.
Okay, very good. So, yes, it is. With the ingredients, you have your vegetable, you have your salt, and then there's water in there. But also remember, look at the package. Is it a little bit cloudy? Yes, it is. It's not very clear, okay? But also, on top of that, when you look at this packaging on the very top, it does say live and raw probiotics, and it says fermented foods for all. So this one definitely is a probiotic. First thing you look at, the packaging and see if there's any cloudiness. Second thing is you want to make sure when you look in the ingredients, they are the ingredients we talked about. And then if it says right on the packaging, live and raw probiotics, kind of a dead giveaway. Very easy. This is the last one, okay? So you don't have to do too much more thinking. For this jar right here of sauerkraut, take a look at this and let me know if you think this is a probiotic.
People are saying no. And then one person said specifically because of sodium benzoate.
Yeah, answer is no. We have a smart audience. So first, I look at the packaging. I look at this jar. It's not cloudy. It's pretty clear. I look at the ingredients. Remember it, there's the vegetable, there's the water, the salt. That's all you need, right, to help with the fermentation. But then you throw in these preservatives, the sodium benzoate, the sodium bisulfite. These preservatives, they interfere with the process of the lactofermentation. So now there's no byproduct of probiotics coming from this food right here. So the next time you're at the grocery store, I hope you feel a little bit more confident when you look at this sauerkraut and then this sauerkraut, or this pickle and then this pickle. You have a really good idea if this is really a probiotic, because the last thing you want to do is spend some money at the store only to find out that you didn't get what you were looking for, right? Oh, I still have more questions. Okay. Leah, I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions.
I love it. So interactive.
True or false? Pickling vegetables is the same as fermenting vegetables. This is kind of hard.
You're getting a lot of falses right away.
Mm,
And no's and falses. Yeah.
a lot of no's?
Yeah, no and false, basically.
Correct. It is false. Okay, so I think this is a little confusing, but let me first define it. So pickled vegetables, they're made with vinegar and or with sugar, and then they're boiled, which is sterilizing the pickled vegetables. Fermented vegetables, they're made with spices in a salt brine, and they are at room temperature. I think that the term pickling sometimes is like really confusing because fermentation is a form of pickling, but not all pickles are fermented. And the ones that are fermented are the ones that give off the probiotics, and that's the one we're looking for, right? But just so you understand, not all pickles are fermented. Fermentation, it includes bacteria, which consumes the undigestible parts of the food, usually in the anaerobic environment, meaning it's without oxygen. And then that's when it produces the beneficial probiotic as the byproduct of the fermentation. So pickles, if we go back to that first jar that I was looking at, or that we were looking at together, pickles, they're made through the lactofermentation process. So like the cucumbers, they're going to get completely submerged in a salt brine, and then they're going to be left in the jar with the liquids at room temperature for 1 week. Though there will be some healthy strains of probiotic microbes like lactobacillus that's going to be formed as a byproduct of this fermentation. But this is not the case when you pickle the vegetable with an acid. So that's when you start boiling the vegetables in an acidic brine. That acidic brine usually is made with vinegar. This is a form of preservation, and it gives like a similar product. But because you've boiled off you're boiling it, you're sterilizing that vegetable, which means that no probiotics are being formed from this. So so that sometimes people are using that word pickling um, interchangeably, but I just want you to understand. I mean, the key thing is you want to make sure that there's no like acid and things are not being boiled off. You want it at room temperature, and then you also want to make sure that you're using just the salt and the water in that vegetable. You're not adding in any extra acid to it. Now I'm also going to talk a little bit about miso because I just want to give it a little bit of a spotlight. We talked a lot about different probiotics and we talked about fermentation. I mentioned briefly before how you can use miso. I want you to also understand what it is in case it's not something you've had before. It's a fermented soybean paste. And I was told that there was like a Japanese proverb or a saying that says, if you eat miso, you won't need to see a doctor. And that's like the Japanese version of an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Miso is really rich in amino acid with vitamins and minerals, and it is also a probiotic. Um, like I mentioned earlier, you can use this in soups, you can use it in salad dressing and as a spread for sandwiches. But you want to avoid adding miso to any boiling water or boiling soup because this can kill off the good bacteria. So here's a pro tip. Add the miso paste to the soup and stew at the very end of the cooking process once the heat has been turned off. Usually if you're like using a thermometer, it's somewhere between 120 to 158 degrees, where it's kind of cooled off and it won't kill off the probiotics. And another thing is, instead of making like a really big batch of miso soup and repeatedly reheating it later on, just make a small batch, prepare for each meal. Um, and then this way you don't have to keep reheating it and you won't kill off the good bacteria. All right, so we talked a lot about probiotics, the benefits of it, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about prebiotics. So probiotics and now prebiotics. Prebiotics are what feed the probiotics and help them thrive. So it's food for the probiotics. It can help stimulate a natural increase in good bacteria in the gut. And they are non-digestible food ingredients, typically plant fibers that are easily fermentable by beneficial gut bacteria to increase the production of short-chain fatty acids. Are we back in biochemistry? Short-chain fatty acids. I'm going to explain to you what short-chain fatty acids are, and I'm also going to explain to you why are they important with diabetes management. Short-chain fatty acids are the end products of fermentation of dietary fibers by the anaerobic intestinal microbiota. They help stimulate the secretion of insulin through the incretin peptides, and they help control the level of glucose in the body. Short-chain fatty acids are really important because they help increase insulin sensitivity and help with increasing glucose homeostasis, which is the balance of insulin and glucagon. So when I was preparing for this presentation today, I was told there's so many people who are interested in gut health, but also how it relates to diabetes and how it relates to blood sugar management. So I really want you to like take a look and just think about this a little bit. The short chain fatty acids are helping us with increasing insulin sensitivity and with increasing glucose homeostasis. It's the prebiotics, right? So prebiotic foods, they are the ones that can help make the short chain fatty acids. The short chain fatty acids are like the winning product right here. They are the ones that help keep our blood sugars more stable. So now I'm going to talk about prebiotic foods because the prebiotic foods make these short chain fatty acids, okay? So kind of putting it all together, we want to eat prebiotic foods because they make short chain fatty acids. The short chain fatty acids are what's helping us with our gut health and also with keeping our blood sugars stable. So prebiotics, they are defined as a substrate that is selectively utilized by host microorganisms, conferring a health benefit. I like to think of prebiotics as food that helps feed the probiotics. These foods, they include garlic, onions, leeks, and asparagus, and bananas. In general, I like to think of fruits and vegetables are good sources of prebiotics. So some of these foods might be really familiar to you, but maybe there's some foods that you want to try, like leeks. If you're experimenting with leeks, you can cook the leeks just like you would an onion. You can saute them in a pot. You can make this aromatic base for a soup or a stew. You could also steam the leeks all the way and then serve them hot or cold as a side. Or you can steam them briefly and then just put a little bit of oil on it and then you can grill them. You can have bananas or these berries as part of your breakfast or as part of your snacks. You can have the asparagus or some of the other yummy vegetables on like a sheet pan, and then that could be part of the foods that you eat. So you may be thinking, okay, now I understand. Prebiotics are really good for us. Prebiotics make these short chain fatty acids. These short chain fatty acids are what helps with keeping our blood sugars stable. So you may be now wondering, well, how much of the prebiotics should I eat? That's a really good question. At present, there are no official dietary recommendations for adequate intake or recommended daily allowance for prebiotics in healthy individuals. So if you're looking for like a number, it's really hard to say because they don't have enough information. There's still a lot of research going on right now. But what my colleagues and myself really want to emphasize is incorporating a variety of high fiber foods like vegetables, whole grains, and fruits. And then that can help you with obtaining a sufficient amount of prebiotics. So we have some numbers around this when it comes to fiber. The recommended daily amount of fiber is 25 to 38 grams of fiber a day, or 14 grams of fiber per 1,000-calorie diet. So I don't want you to feel like you need to count how many grams of fiber is in the food, but sometimes some people work better with numbers to know what to aim for. So if you are someone who eats 3 meals a day and maybe 2 snacks between your meals, that's about eating 5 times a day. If you eat 5 times a day, then maybe aim for about 5 grams of fiber at each meal or snack. So that would be 5 meals and then, or 5 meals and a snack included, times 5, and that will give you the 25 grams of fiber that you're looking for. Why this is also important is we don't want to like front load the fiber in one meal. Like let's just say you get really excited and at breakfast, you're really trying to put in so much fiber all at once and you get 15 or 20 grams of fiber at breakfast, and then you're going to get 5 grams later at dinner. If you front load and you do so much all at one meal, your stomach may hurt. You may get some discomfort, you may get some gas and bloating. So what is recommended is to really spread your fiber throughout the day. I have here a snapshot of foods that are considered high in fiber. And remember, like if you eat 5 times a day, you're aiming for 5 grams of fiber at each time that you're eating. So if you're someone who likes to eat beans, for half a cup, you get anywhere between 5 to 8 grams of fiber in just the beans itself. If you like to eat pears, one pear is about 5 grams of fiber. Now, again, I don't want you to feel like you need to measure your food or count the grams of fiber, I just really want you to see from this, it's really easy to get fiber if you start choosing a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. The goal is to really eat whole foods. When you do that, you're naturally going to be getting some fiber, which would be some soluble and insoluble. When you eat real whole foods, you get a balance of soluble and insoluble fiber. So I also want to give you some strategies or ideas on how to add more fiber into your eating plan. It can be as simple as just adding a little bit more almonds to your salad. It can be adding some dried beans in a soup. It could be adding some flaxseed to a muffin if you're baking. You can also add vegetables to your sandwiches. Try to incorporate a lot of vegetables with your meals. So some of these include the Brussels sprouts, acorn squash, lima beans, broccoli, cabbage, green beans, onions, parsnips, turnips, carrots, okra, and eggplant. There's a lot, okay? But I don't want you to feel like you can only work off of this list. As long as you really choose real whole foods, especially vegetable based or fruits or whole grains, you are going to get a balance of the soluble and insoluble fiber. You will get the fiber in there. So just make a conscious effort of trying to get more fiber at a mealtime. So now I'm going to talk about synbiotics. That is when you consume both the probiotics and prebiotics at the same time. There's been studies and research that has shown when you do this, when you combine both probiotics and prebiotics at the same time, there's more benefits than when you use them separately. So how do you include prebiotics and probiotics at a mealtime? You can do this with yogurt, which is a probiotic, and add some berries with it or some almonds and walnuts. That's a prebiotic. You can have a kefir smoothie, and that's your probiotic with some berries, which are your prebiotics. Vegetables, which is the prebiotic, and a cup of kombucha, your probiotic. You can have your salad, which is your prebiotic, with some fermented vegetables, and that's your probiotic. You can have like a sandwich with like some whole grains, which is your prebiotic, topped with some raw sauerkraut, your probiotic. So these are some ideas if you're trying to mix the prebiotic and probiotic together. Here's just another slide to kind of put it all together. You don't need to count things. You don't really need to measure things. I don't want to make this hard. I really want to make this as easy as possible. When you are trying to add a probiotic and prebiotic to your plate, think of a 9-inch plate and make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. And then that would be your prebiotic right there. The other half of the plate, make a quarter of it a grain, and then make the other quarter of it a protein. That protein could be considered a probiotic depending on what it is. If you have like a dairy beverage or some dairy with it, like the cheese, the yogurt, the kefir, or the cultured milk, that's also a probiotic. So you can balance this out and make this a symbiotic, right, by putting these two together. So I hope right now you understand what types of food are probiotics, what types of food are prebiotics, and how you can put it together. But now maybe you might be asking this question or thinking about this question. Elaine, should I take a probiotic supplement? Well, honestly, what I really think is what we eat is probably the biggest influence on our gut microbiome. So I really recommend food first with the probiotic and prebiotics as best as possible. But if there is a gap in your diet where maybe you have some food intolerance or food allergy, or maybe you're not able to get so much of the probiotics and prebiotics into your day to day, then a supplement may help. But before you just go off and get any type of supplements, I really want to give you some ideas on how to be smart about buying a supplement. So there are things that you want to look for, okay? So first, you want to look at the CFUs, which are the colony forming units. This is the number of bacteria per dose. When you look at a supplement, okay, there's brand names out there are generic ones out there, but many of the probiotic supplements that contain 1 to 10 billion CFUs per dose, and some will contain even up to 50 billion CFUs or more. The general recommendation is to choose a probiotic with at least 1 billion CFUs. And if you haven't seen what 1 billion looks like in a long time, it's written as 1 times 10 to the ninth. That's what 1 billion looks like, okay? And then if it's 1 times 10 to the 10th, that's what 10 billion looks like. A higher CFU count does not necessarily mean it's going to improve the product's health effects, okay? So I want you to really understand, I really want you to understand that probiotics, they must be consumed alive to have health benefits, and they can die during their shelf life. So users should really look for the products labeled with the number of CFUs at the end of the product's shelf life, not at the time of manufacture. So what I want you to really understand is that like the products, they may contain double the amount at the time of manufacture. So what you may see on the product may say something like, it's formulated to contain X billion of the live bacteria or CFUs at time of manufacture and provides an effective level of X billion of CFUs at the best by date. So you want to make sure that you look at the CFU at the end of the product's shelf life, not at the time of manufacture, because there's a half-life, so the probiotics are going to die. So you don't, when you look at the food label, or I guess the supplement label, it may say X amount of CFUs. And right now, your goal is to look for at least 1 billion, right? But you don't want to start off with 1 billion at time of manufacture because there's a half-life and you're not going to get the full benefits. So make sure you look at the number of CFUs at the end of the product's shelf life. Other things to look for, you want to look at the types of bacteria strains that are used. There are so many different strains or different types of beneficial bacteria that's found in the microbiome. Remember, we talked about the microbiota earlier, and there's so many. The probiotic supplements that are made are generally made with strains that have been the most extensively researched. And so some of those include Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Saccharomyces boulardii. When you also look at the supplement label, you want to make sure you look for the expiration or use by date. Remember, because these are live probiotics. And you want to follow the storage instructions. Should it be refrigerated or should it be at room temperature? And even though this is not required on supplements, what I want you to look for is to see if there's like a third-party assessment. It's a good sign if the supplement label indicates that the product has been subjected to a valid independent third party. So then that kind of gives you a little bit more of peace of mind because really the FDA, they don't regulate these probiotics. Supplements, the probiotics are considered a supplement. So that means that the FDA is not regulating this, and companies can really put what they want on there inside this product, and then they can call it a probiotic. And it would be nice if there is like a third party or independent third party that will assess this. You want to make sure that, to be honest, I didn't put this on here, but I think when people ask me what probiotics should I take, generally there's like the generic and then there is the name brand. I think because it is a supplement, I would say like go with the name brand because the longer the company has been around, the more likely the product has been tested and studied. That's just my personal opinion on this. Um, and cost isn't necessarily an indicator of quality. So don't feel that something that costs like $100 versus something that might cost $20 or $25. You don't need to feel that the $100 ones is better. But if you're going to spend the money, I would just say spend it on a name brand that you may trust because if it's been around for a lot longer, I feel like they would probably have better ingredients on there. Now, if you are taking the supplement, um, I suggest when you take it for a couple weeks to assess. If if you are not seeing the benefit that you're looking for, then maybe it's not the right supplement for you. So give it a couple weeks to at least allow your body to make some adjustments and see if you're getting any benefits from that. But if you're not, then I would just cut that out. So who should not take a probiotic supplement? For individuals with a compromised immune function or those who are critically ill, the World Gastroenterology Organization advises restricting probiotic use to the strains and indications that have proven efficacy. So now we're coming to the last slide. I really want to put this all together for you so you have a better understanding. I'm recommending that you eat more probiotic foods because this helps to diversify your gut microbiota, which in return can help you increase and process your glucose better. I want you to eat more prebiotic foods because they help increase the productions of short chain fatty acids, which in return helps increase insulin sensitivity and glucose homeostasis. I also want to have you focus on food first when it comes to probiotic foods and prebiotic foods. But if you're going to take a supplement, please take a good, careful look at the label and just make sure you follow the instructions I just shared with you. And last but not least, if you walk away from this presentation with anything else in mind, I really want you to understand that taking care of your gut and your blood sugar levels, they go hand in hand. The same types of food that helps with your gut health, they actually help with regulating your blood sugars too. So it kind of is like a full circle. I want you to just understand that you want to include all of this as well. So I hope you were able to get a lot of good information from what I just shared today.
Elaine, what a great presentation. I feel like I learned so much too from you today. Thank you so much. I loved all your quiz questions. You do have some questions. So one of the questions is, I'm lactose intolerant. What are some good probiotic foods that you can suggest?
Yeah, I know. And I shared a lot of different examples of primarily dairy products, right? But there's definitely a lot of lactose-free yogurt out there, like the Green Valley lactose-free yogurt. There's also the Silk dairy-free yogurt. There's also the Stonyfield organic that's made with soy. There's also other brands out there that it doesn't have to have dairy in it. And it can still have probiotics. You could also consider taking like a regular yogurt, like a Greek yogurt, and take like a lactate pill as well. So that's one way to do it. Another brand with like the kefir, Lifeway kefir is another one that's lactose free, and you can give that one a try.
Great. I like how you give so many great examples as well. Somebody else is asking, are all fiber foods a prebiotic?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I know I was trying to explain it where we want to have more prebiotics because it makes the short chain fatty acids. And I said, you don't need to count it because we don't know how much prebiotics you're supposed to have in a given day. And I said, focus on fiber, focus on fruits and vegetables. But no, not all fiber is a prebiotic. So fiber there are two types. There's the soluble and insoluble fiber. So the most well-studied prebiotics to date are soluble fiber. So soluble fibers are the ones that do have prebiotics. But the nice thing is, like based on what I just shared with you, when you look at these fruits, when you look at these vegetables or whole grains, they are fiber, but when you eat real food, you have a nice balance of soluble and insoluble fiber. It's not just one or the other, so you don't have to count it. As long as you think more about, oh, I want to eat a little bit more of the asparagus. Oh, I want to eat a little bit more of the Brussels sprouts. I want to eat more pears. Like when you eat real food that your grandparents ate, right? You're going to get a nice balance of soluble and insoluble fiber, and then there will be prebiotics in them.
Okay, great. And then it's hard to monitor all the questions in the chat. And we have so many questions. And so please feel free to put them in the Q&A. It's a little bit easier for us to keep them organized between kind of what everything else is going on. So feel free, and then we will try to get to as many as possible. So many great questions, Elaine. What a great talk. You prompted a lot of really great things to think about. Something else I'm reading here. Somebody's asking, so if you get miso soup from restaurants and it's potentially been boiled, does that mean it's not as effective for your gut health?
Yeah. So if it's been boiled off or is at a really high temperature, I think the temperature where it keeps it stable is like 150 to 180. And it's not like when you're at the restaurant, you're going to take out a thermometer, but if it is boiled like really high and you let it sit and it's boiling, the probiotics will diminish from that. So not to say that you won't get anything from it, because likely inside that miso soup, you're probably gonna get some tofu, you might get some seaweed. So you'll get some probiotics and prebiotics in there. So don't shy away from it when you're at the restaurant. But I would say if you were to make it yourself, you would want to boil the soup and then let it kind of cool down a little bit. Then add that scoop of the miso paste. And a small amount goes a long way because there's so much flavor in that soybean paste. So give it a try.
Yeah, great. And then another question is, how do probiotics stay alive on the shelf?
I know. How do we keep these little bugs alive, right? Um, so when it is in a supplement form, the scientists, they've figured out a way to kind of keep the bacteria in like the standby mode. And so how they do it, there's like a process where they do like a freeze drying process where it removes most of the water from around and inside the cells, and it makes the microbes like stay in this dormant state. So there's like no growth or reproduction or no metabolic activity right now. But when you take the supplement, right? So right now, when it's on the shelf, it's in a dormant state. But when you actually eat it, or I'm sorry, when you swallow it, you're not eating. When you swallow the supplement, when it reaches the gut, um, it provides the water that it needs. It provides the proper temperature, and then it gives you the nutrient availability and the acidity to like kind of open up and stay alive in that sense. So it's in a dormant state when it is in that supplement through like some sort of, I don't remember the term, but it's a freeze drying process that they do. And then once you put it in your mouth and it gets into your gut, that's how it starts reactivating it again.
Oh, great. I love how you drew so much science into this as well. You brought me back to biochemistry
Yeah.
oh, so many years ago. Somebody's also asking about soluble and insoluble, so fibers,
Yeah.
and they're kind of comparing it to what does it mean to be soluble, insoluble versus complex or versus simple carbohydrates,
Oh,
refined and unrefined. Do you mind just kind of explaining those?
yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question because yeah, those are kind of different terms. So okay, let's see how I can explain it. So like an apple, we'll think about the apple. I like to think of like, so the white fleshy part of the apple, that's your soluble fiber. The skin of the apple is the insoluble fiber. So you get a nice mix of the two. Now there's the, we were talking about complex carbohydrate and simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are the ones that we are promoting. These are the ones I'm telling you, eat more of these things to get your prebiotic, to get all the good short chain fatty acids. The complex carbs are the ones that include the fiber in it. The simple carbohydrates are the ones that's gone through some sort of um, uh, process, right? So it would be the way I'm thinking about it is like a fruit juice. So instead of the orange or instead of an apple, now you have an apple juice. The apple juice is the simple carbs because what you've done is you've gone through some sort of a I'm losing my words. Like you've gone through some sort of process, right? So it's kind of like man-made in a sense. You didn't see this in nature. Someone had to make it from the fruit to the juice. So I would say, so that one's the simple carbs. The complex carbs would be the apple in itself. And I hope I explained the soluble and insoluble correctly, or so that you understand. It's all part of the actual food. You just get the insoluble as the skin on the apple. The soluble part is the apple itself, the fleshy part. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That definitely makes it a lot more clear. Um, and then a lot of people just kind of have some questions if you have like a specific type of miso or color of miso that you recommend, or if you just in general recommend miso paste to add fermented foods.
Yeah, I don't have a specific brand. That I want to say like you have to use it, but I would just say like make sure you're looking at the ingredients. Remember when I talked about the different products and if you're at the store, like what to look for? Everyone did like an A+ job. They were able to say that's true, that's false, that's yes or no. And but I also want to make sure I say this too, because I didn't say this earlier. You don't have to buy all of this at the store. You can make it yourself. There's so many awesome recipes online that can tell you how to ferment your own food. And it's, like I said, there was only 3 ingredients if you're going to make it yourself. The only thing is you just need to be patient. You need about like a week for it to ferment and have the byproduct of the probiotics. So you just need some patience. But if you are feeling adventurous, try to make it yourself. Otherwise, yeah, when you go to the store, just make sure you look at the food label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. This is another actually a really interesting question. So somebody has seen there are a lot of probiotics that are marketed for women's health. Do you think that it's kind of all marketing, or do you feel like there's just like specific probiotics for different types of genders?
You know, that's so interesting because remember I shared with you the one that just was like the FDA just talked about the yogurt and how yogurt can have these great benefits. But where they saw the biggest benefits were in females, especially for females over the age of 60. That's where they saw the biggest benefits. And the strain that is usually found in yogurt is lactobacillus. So I do think that there are specific strains that are targeted for certain conditions, some specific conditions. Um, do I know all of them? No. Okay. But yeah, I do think that if you are looking for a probiotic for something very specific, whether it is um, for gut health, or if it's for diabetes management, or if it's for like a certain age, gender, you would probably want to do a little bit more digging in terms of the research to find out what strain is best for you. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And then somebody's asking, can you use miso paste just straight from the jar, almost like raw?
I'm trying to think if I've ever done that. It's really salty. It's really salty. Um,
I think it can be part of sauces that you may or may
yeah,
not cook, right? A dipping
yeah,
sauce, something.
we're true. Oh, correct. Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Yes, I was thinking of just eating that as like peanut butter, like that. So yes, you don't
Oh,
have
that would be off-putting. Very salty, you're
yeah,
right.
no, the taste is not the best if you just eat it right from the container. And I would say, yeah, mix it and you can make some sort of spread with it, some sort of dressing. Yeah.
Excellent. And I think the question is coming up again that you had kind of answered earlier about lactose-free products also still containing probiotics.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they still can.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And then so people also are kind of like asking for your very specific brand recommendations. But I feel like that's a little bit can be a little bit challenging. So I think that people are also wondering when this will be posted. So this will be posted on the Stanford Health Library in about a week. Um, and so you all can go back and reference and kind of listen to different parts that you want to re-remember. So thank you so much, Elaine. We really appreciate such a wealth of information. You taught us so much and made such a great interactive presentation. And so, yeah, we look forward to seeing you all next month, the second Thursday, 5 to 6. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.